Hey guys, what's going on? It's Karl here, back with another episode. We're doing something revisited today. We are checking out the mighty and fable Oneplus 5. I will leave linked up here my full review of this guy, and I think I did a revisited review of that as well, but we're re-engaging with this as there is a bit of a top secret feature that isn't really advertised that I've decided to test because it might have been one of the most lacking features in my review, which was the fact that the Oneplus 5 wasn't waterproof, whereas it actually just might be. So before we get into all of the fun testing, and I do promise that I will get wet on camera, we will just take a look at the Oneplus 5 in case you didn't catch the review. It has been such a solid smartphone. It runs near stock Android, super quick, super snappy, and has been one of my favorite flagship devices. I'm gonna throw that in there, flagships, as it does compete with the S8, the LG G6, and the soon-to-be Pixel 2, as well as the Galaxy Note 8. I believe that's the next model coming out, and all for around 500 bucks. You really can't go wrong grabbing this guy. Internally wise, this is where the OP5 really shines, and you can really tell it's an enthusiast smartphone. It's got the latest and greatest internals, and you really can't find another smartphone that has similar specs for this pricing for 500 bucks. And as I mentioned, the glaring weakness, or what a lot of reviewers have said, is the phone isn't waterproof. And I think I mentioned myself, I couldn't take this into pool parties, but let's start testing that out and maybe debunking some myths. Okay, so we've got things a bit wider on the cam now as we have two little water testing stations here in the studio. We've got, of course, the Oneplus 5 in all of its glory, fully functional with no sort of casing on it. And just remember, this technically isn't IP rated. Other smartphones you might see, IP65, IP68. This guy has no official rating, but we will get things wet. First and foremost, let's just drip water on it, pretend that you've spilt a drink. So we will put the Oneplus 5 right on the table, and here we go, praying that this stays intact. Oh my goodness, water is getting everywhere. That's quite a bit of water. And we'll kind of just swish this guy around. The screen is going off. Maybe even turn it over as it's kind of sliding around my desk now. And back on the other side, I'm assuming that in this time you've probably noticed that your Oneplus 5 is wet. So we've got paper towel to the rescue. Let's try to clean this up. Still on cam, and the phone is still going, and I can't see any sort of damage and no real errors to the screen. But now is the real test where we're going to actually submerge it. This is probably very similar to when you spill this in, say, your toilet. You jump in a pool. All right, here we go. Into the giant pitcher of water in 3, 2, 1. And that phone is fully submerged just for kicks. Let's add a bit of extra and let's let this simmer now for a couple seconds. Now is probably the time, if this slipped out of your back pocket, you're like, holy shit, my phone is in the toilet, or I'm hoping that's what you would say. You would probably reach in, grab the phone, frantically start trying to dry it off, which yes, phone is still fully functional. We've got everything running on camera. We've got that. So technically, the Oneplus 5, as I said, doesn't really have an IP rating, but you can get it to still survive a basic water test. But if you do, say, drop this in a little pool of water, in a puddle, or you just spill your drink on it, it should survive. Let's do a bit more fun stuff just for kick's sakes. And who doesn't want to get me wet? Third water test coming up. Okay, outside, test number 3. We've got obviously Oneplus 5 against hose. Before we just soak myself, we'll just emulate a bit what rain might look like. So I'm just gonna fire this straight into the air and see what happens just before we start. Phone fully functional, of course. So let's get back to the main menu there. Okay. I have no idea how this is gonna work on camera. I'm gonna get so wet. Okay, so like imagine you're just getting soaked in the rain here. I'm getting downpoured on. Hopefully that's not getting the camera. So I'm pretty wet. The phone is pretty wet, obviously. This is probably the easiest going water test. I'm sure even if you just gave it a nice little squirt there. And phone perfectly working. So that's probably the strongest type of downfall you'll ever get. And if we actually, I think the phone is just like wet on the screen. Oh, is it working? Is it working? Okay, hold on, we gotta dry off the screen, so let's go toward the towel here. And hopefully the camera guy doesn't spray me. Okay, so that's dry. And as you can see, the screen still completely working, and I think our OnePlus 5 survived the water test, and I need to go shower and dry off. So just make sure you guys smash that like button, sub to the channel for this, I guess, secret OnePlus 5 waterproof test, and I'll catch the rest of you one of my next episodes or in one of my next vlogs. Peace.